It's true. There's a big hole in Medicare around nursing home care and home health care. And having a Medicare supplement plan unfortunately doesn't help. Medicare does not provide any long-term care for nursing home stays. And the state program for the disadvantaged called Medicaid will cover certain individuals fully, but it's basically like welfare for the nursing home. It's not going to pay for the type of facility most people want to be in, and other people do not financially qualify for this due to their income and assets. So, banking on the Medicaid program paying for long-term care is not a good game plan. They will even liquidate or claw back some of your assets in certain situations if you were there and actually had assets. But statistics show it's pretty unlikely that you'll need an extended stay in the nursing home. Over 60% of the nursing home and rehab stays end in under a year, and the median is roughly 5 months. What typically happens instead, and the real gap for most, looks like this. You fall and break your hip or a knee, or you have a heart attack or a stroke or something, right? And then you need some help for a while getting back on your feet. Some of that may need to take place in a facility called skilled nursing. Here's the issue. Medicare will cover you for 20 days of skilled nursing if you spent 3 full days in the hospital, not including your discharge day. So that's a problem right there, because a lot of the hospitals hold you in observation status for at least one of your days, and the discharge day doesn't count. So that can create a gap in coverage. You need to go to skilled nursing, but you're going to have to pay for it all out of your pocket. Well, truth is, you prefer to go home and recover at home anyway, right? But you're going to still need that help getting back on your feet. You're going to need those skilled nursing services. And unfortunately, Medicare does not provide much, if any, in-home care. And they provide no custodial care, like changing your bedpan, cleaning up a little, flipping you over. You'd have to burden your spouse or someone else with that. And since Medicare won't pay, the supplements won't pay either. So that's another gap in coverage. There's a few different ways we can close that gap. There's the old way, which is called long-term care. It requires a medical background check that's pretty extensive. It can be very expensive, and the payment goes up over time. And if something happens, you have to self-pay all the costs for the first 90 days. That's called an elimination period. It only begins paying benefits after you've been needing care for 90 days. And in this case, it's also use it or lose it coverage, which means you could pay $500 a month for 20 years, and then if you never use the coverage at all that money was for nothing. There is a hybrid way that's been more popular in recent years. This uses life insurance or an annuity. It's basically a rider that's added, and honestly, it can be great. A really good way to cover this, but only if you have some lazy money, funds not earning much in a CD or a savings account of some kind that you could repurpose, or you're willing to convert your current life insurance policy to a new version that has a long-term care rider added, and you can pass the background check needed to do that. For either of these, you're going to need to pass the medical background check. It's not quite as difficult as the traditional long-term care, adding these riders, but it's still something that has to be accomplished. If you have some money in a CD that's not making very much interest, or an old stale annuity, in this case, then the funds can be transferred via 1035 exchange. You can transfer those funds into one of these products, the annuity for long-term care or a new life insurance product with the rider, without triggering income tax. And the money will be multiplied in those policies and go a long way towards facility or in-home care. And a big upside here is if none of it's ever used, then all that money goes to your beneficiaries when you pass. So at least you have something for your money, no matter what. But not everyone has lazy, underutilized money, right? Or can health qualify to start a new hybrid life insurance policy. So For most people, the sweet spot is a product called short-term care. It's poorly named. It's more like medium-term care, and it fits the exact need of the average person. It can cover up a year for in-home care services and a year in facility. Now remember, the average person is only needing services for 5 months or less at a time. So that's more than enough for most people. 2 years total, year in facility, year at home. So you can get up to 2 years. It pays from day one. So no 90-day waiting period, right? Like the long-term CAS. No 3-month gap of you funding all your costs. A huge benefit for home care component is some plans pay money specifically for a family member to be your caretaker, not just a licensed agency. The monthly payment is also much lower than a traditional long-term care policy. And there's no big lump sum of cash you need to move, to an annuity or to a new life insurance policy. So this is the more appropriately sized tool for the job for most. There are 2 short-term plans I'd put in front of you, and they solve for slightly different priorities. The first is Manhattan Life's OmniFlex. Now you can build it for both facility care and home health, which is what I do, with a 0-day waiting period. But the feature I really like is something called Fast 50. It means this: if you need services, you can get up to 50% of your daily benefit paid to you directly to use the funds to pay a family member to help you, or a friend, or a neighbor. So you have the ability to use the funds to pay someone else other than a licensed home health agency, which is huge because this is a big way that a lot of people actually end up receiving care or wanting to receive their care, is through family and friends. And this policy gives me a way to give you money to help that to happen. So even if the person helping you is your spouse, a daughter, a friend, or a neighbor, you're not limited to hiring a home healthcare agency, and that's big. It also has a reset feature. So if you go and 180 days without needing services, without needing care, the benefits restore up to twice the original benefit. So to give a specific example, on the way I set it up, a 360-day plan would restore up to twice that amount. That's up to 720 days of benefits over the life of the policy. And that's great. It has this restoration benefit, and that covers most of the scenarios that are out there. But not as much as Aetna's unlimited reset we'll see in a minute. And there's one other little benefit I like about this OmniFlex. They reimburse $10 for every generic prescription, or $25 for a brand name prescription, up to $300 a year. And you don't have to be on claim at the time to use it. So what does that mean? It means you take your list of drugs and you send them to the carrier, and then they're going to send you a check with funds back for every prescription you're taking. Even though your plan has nothing to do with prescription drug coverage, it's just a perk that gets you a rebate for the purpose of helping you offset some of your monthly payment. So if you're already filling prescriptions anyway, you can get some of your payments offset through this prescription benefit. I love that for my clients, and it's very popular. For a lot of the fixed income families I work with, that combination, especially the flexibility to use family, makes OmniFlex the sweet spot. It's just enough coverage for what's most likely to occur, flexibility to use family and friends, and affordability. It's also not as difficult to health qualify for as long-term care coverage or those hybrid products we looked at. The second is Aetna Recovery Care. Now it pays $300 a day for facility for 360 days, basically a year, and up to $2,100 a week for home care for another 52 weeks. So that's a year in facility, just about, and a year in home. So that's basically 2 years of coverage, like the OmniFlex. its home care has to come from a licensed agency, so it can't pay a family member. It does have a drug benefit, but you have to be on claim receiving medical services to use the rebate. But the big upside to this one, and the reason I put it in front of you, is its restoration is unlimited. So if you're off claim for a certain period, the benefits fully restore an unlimited number of times, not just 2 times for the lifetime of the policy as Omniflex has. This one's unlimited. And the big kicker is you get 15% discount off your monthly payments if you carry an Aetna Medicare supplement plan. So this is definitely a play for those who are looking at a supplement plan and willing to use Aetna, or who already have Aetna. Both Aetna and Omniflex can give you about a full year in facility and another full year in home. Omniflex gives you more flexibility in who can provide that care, including family through its Fast 50 benefit. Aetna's advantage is that its benefits can restore again forever versus Omniflex's 2-time restoration over the life of its policy. Let's look at an actual scenario. Take a couple like Robert and Mary. Robert's 67, Mary's 65. They're retired, living on a fixed income, and they've got about $80,000 put away. Robert falls and breaks his hip. He has surgery. Now, let's look at original Medicare. For Medicare to cover Robert in skilled nursing facility under the standard rules, he has to spend 3 consecutive days admitted to the hospital as an inpatient, not including discharge day or any observation status days. Now, if he clears that hurdle and he meets Medicare's requirements for skilled care, Medicare can cover the first 20 days with no additional skilled nursing copay. So 20 days. But starting on day 21, Robert's share is $217 a day. If he needed all 80 of those additional days in care, that would be $17,360. And after day 100, Medicare pays nothing towards skilled nursing facility stay. Now, if Robert had a traditional long-term care that commonly have a 90-day elimination period, the insurance may not pay anything during those first 90 days. That's 3 months where Robert and Mary would be paying out of their savings for care themselves before that long-term care policy ever kicks in. Now, compare that with a short-term care policy we looked at earlier with Omniflex or Aetna, designed with a 0-day elimination period. There's no requirement that Robert first spend the first 3 days in the hospital. The facility benefit can start helping with those costs right away. And where something like Omniflex gets really interesting is this. Maybe Robert gets through rehab, comes home, but he still can't bathe himself, get dressed, or move around safely without some help. Mary doesn't necessarily want to put him back into the facility. Well, with that Fast 50 feature, they can have cash available for informal care. So including help from a daughter, another family member, a church member, or a friend, rather than being forced to use only a licensed home care agency. And I think that's huge. That's the gap we're really trying to protect. The period after the medical event, when Medicare's rules stop matching what the family actually needs. You might be thinking, what if I need care longer than a year? Fair question. And I get why. Most people hear nursing home and they picture someone staying in there for years, right? That version is real. It's just not the common one. Most stays are over inside a year. Now, if you did need continuous care for years on end, I'll tell you straight, a short-term care policy isn't built to cover that. It's built to cover the most probable scenario rather than wasting thousands of dollars potentially on a long-term care scenario that never occurs. And it does put a substantial financial buffer in front of that risk by providing you a year in facility and a year in home services, and that buys you time. If you see after 6 or 8 months that this is looking like it's going to be a multi-year situation, then at least you're buying yourself time to adjust your assets and your situation to prepare for that. So, to recap, Medicare and a supplement still leave a real hole around nursing home care and ongoing help at home. Traditional long-term care insurance can be expensive and harder to qualify for. Hybrid plans can work well, but usually make the most sense if you have a chunk of money you're comfortable repositioning or converting your life insurance policy to one of these. Short-term care sits in the middle. It's designed to protect the first stretch of a care event, starting right away at a cost that can be much more manageable, with certain plans even giving you the flexibility to use family or friends to help you with your care. My job is to look at your age, your health, your budget, and what you're trying to protect, and tell you straight whether any of this makes sense. And if it does, which plan fits you best. So, if this is something you've been thinking about, give me a call. We can look at the numbers, see what you qualify for, and decide whether it's worth doing. And don't wait until somebody has the fall, the stroke, or the diagnosis. By that point, it's often too late.